I was simply saying that this is not a mere matter of speculation, that there's more than a tiny bit of evidence on the table.
But he's saying
evidence for what?
Evidence for a beginning of the universe.
Yes.
Well, we know that. Nobody disputes
All right,
that.
well, that's what I'm offering in this first argument, is the evidence.
But
why?
because there's a
Because nobody
beginning
disputes
doesn't
it.
imply a God.
It does if the first premise is true, that whatever begins to exist has a cause. It logically follows
Yeah,
that
but it doesn't. But the cause hasn't got to be God.
Well, remember I gave an argument for thinking that this cause is timeless,
Yes, I know.
spaceless, immaterial, enormously powerful, and personal.
I think it's a computer.
Well, that wouldn't. Computers are designed by people. I mean,
No, this is a self-designing computer.
Timeless.
Timeless.
well, that's a contradiction in terms.
Why is it time? What's contradictory about it?
A computer has to function. It takes
Oh
time.
no, this is a special computer.
Yeah, but it has to be logically coherent.
Oh, it's logically coherent.
Yes, you have to be logically
Oh
coherent.
no, this
And
computer
besides-
is amazing.
No, besides, it would have to be, as I said, a personal being.
No.
And a computer is a physical.
Not this computer.
Object.
Oh
Well, then-
no.
Okay, see, what you're doing is what you're calling a computer is really God. A non-physical, It's just another word if you rob it of all the attributes that make it a computer.
Surely Gates is God. Come on. Go on.
What, go on with my computer?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really saying.
I mean, but he's got a point when he
No,
says
he hasn't. I'm
you're...
saying that I don't know what caused it. And he claims he does know what caused it.
But he's saying more than that. He's saying you've got to prove.
No, I don't have to prove. I have to admit ignorance.
Well, if you admit
Well, that's
ignorance
not
and
exactly
he admits
right.
knowledge, as it
He
were...
hasn't got knowledge.
Well, but he believes he has knowledge. So if
that's the whole nature of belief.
If we have two people, one of whom says, I don't know, God Almighty, I hate all these absurd examples, but I go to two doctors, right? One of them, and I've got a pain in my wherever it is, and the first doctor says, I've no idea what's causing it, clear off, and the other one says, actually, it's because you've got a pimple in your thingy. Well, you know, and moreover, because this is what his God does, and moreover, I can cure it, I'll go for the second doctor.
No, but it's not saying a pimple in your thingy. He's saying there's a really special,
How do you know? You
unimaginable,
don't know my
supernatural thing in your thingy.
Well,
That's
see,
a problem.
You're unwilling to accept the idea of anything that exists beyond nature.
Yes.
Well, that is begging the question in favor of atheism. That just is presupposing that atheism is true. And that's what the debate's
Well, they're not
about.
presupposing that God is true.
Oh, no, not at all. I'm giving arguments for God's existence. And what I'm looking for is arguments for atheism. And this isn't, lots of atheists give arguments for their view. You know, the problem of evil and suffering in the world.
Oh, no, that's a terrible argument.
Well, that's what I notice that's what Richard Dawkins says too. Dawkins doesn't use that argument,
absurd.
but that is J.L. Mackie of Oxford, he used that argument.
Oh, it must be a philosopher.
Well, it may, Lewis, be a terrible argument, but it's a pretty powerful argument when you're arguing against a Christian God who's supposed to be all merciful, isn't he?
You know, what? There's
Suffering.
Evil and suffering.
So you mean we must blame God for all the suffering in the world too?
Well, I don't think that. I'm saying that atheists
So who, if not God?
offer arguments for atheism, and this would be an example. The atheist can't get off the hook here. He's making a knowledge claim.
But he's
God
not.
does not exist.
Oh, all right.
See, that's a knowledge claim. It's the agnostic who makes no knowledge
I
claim.
don't say God does not exist. I say there's no evidence for God.
All right, well, then that's mere agnosticism.
No.
Yeah.
No, we atheists say we do not believe that God exists.
Well, that's compatible with God existing, you see.
No.
That's mere agnosticism.
No, it's not.
Atheism says that God does not exist, which is a claim to know something and therefore requires justification.
I'm terribly. This atheist doesn't say this. He just says there's no evidence for God.
All right, well, how would you differentiate yourself then from an agnostic?
Agnostic says I'm clueless as to whether God exists or not. And I'm a coward to try and make up my mind.
Well, now that's pejorative.
Yes, it is pejorative, and I mean it to be pejorative.
All right, what about the non-cowardly agnostic, like Bertrand Russell, who says, I don't know whether God exists, I don't know whether God does not exist.
Well, that's agnostic, yes.
Well, that's what you are.
No.
Well,
Good
okay,
Lord.
then give us, if you're not that, then you need to give us some warrant for the belief that there is no God.
No. I just said
Otherwise,
I know of no evidence or any reason to believe in God whatsoever. This is a supernatural being for which I know of no evidence, and he's done nothing that I know of in the last 2,000 years.
Why did you lose your faith?
Me?
We know why. We know
yes,
why Bill found it.
It's shameful. When I was young, I used to pray to God to help me with various things. My prayers weren't answered, so it was purely pragmatic. I gave it up. Sorry.
No, Bill's was a red-haired beauty in the front row. At least I may be slightly simplifying what you told me.
Or exaggerating.
Or possibly even. Listen, there is one basic, you may have basic laws for God and things, and there is a basic law of journalism. And we all observe it, I promise you this. First simplify, then exaggerate. I hold to that. I hold to. So, where we are, and I mean, you use much of your book to deny the circularity of your argument. What you've been trying to do tonight, forgive me if I've got this wrong, Lewis, is prove that it is in fact entirely a circular argument.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Tell him why.
Tell him why it's a circular.
Yeah.
Why is a circular argument?
Why is
because you want to believe, you need an explanation for things that you don't understand, like why the universe exists. And you're too frightened to admit that you don't know.
That's not the definition of what a circular argument is.
Well, it's circular-ish.
No, a circular argument is when your only reason for believing a premise is that you already accept the conclusion. That's what you're doing when you say there's nothing beyond nature, there is no supernatural. That's presupposing
no, but your argument
atheism.
Is circular. That because there had to be a creator, therefore the creator had to be God.
No, I gave an argument.
No, I know, but I think that argument is totally false.
Well, then what you need to do,
we don't want to get
what you
involved
need
in
to
that
do,
again.
Professor Wolpert, is then to identify the false premise in the argument, because the logic is valid. The conclusion follows from the premises, so you have to show me which of the premises is false.
The premise is that there had to be a personal creator of the universe.
Okay, and then if you're going to argue that that's false, then you'll need to refute the two arguments that I gave for the personhood of the creator.
Oh yes, well,
right, let's get into the moral bit.
Yes,
because you, Lewis, offered us various illustrations, various arguments as to why we can arrive at a moral state. And effectively what you're saying, as I understand it, and you'll tell me I'm wrong, I'm sure, effectively you're saying we do these moral things because over a long enough period we have concluded that they're in our interest to do them.
Absolutely.
Right. Why do people do those things that are not in their selfish interest but are clearly decent and good? Why do they sacrifice themselves in the cause of something from which they will benefit nothing?
We're into the whole thing, about people's behavior, how the brain works, about sociology, about mental illness. There are all sorts of complications.
Have you never looked at somebody, have you never met anybody, and it might be a Mandela figure,
yes,
or it might be a Mother Teresa figure, or it might be an atheist, and said, actually, I don't know this person terribly well, don't know him at all, don't know anything about his medical background, whatever, but he's a good guy, good person, or
no, I think
good person.
No, I don't have to go to those great people. I can go to my partner and my friends and say they're good people.
Absolutely you can, and you can say they're good people. Why are they good people?
Because they help me a great deal and I like them.
Won't quite do in the case of Mandela.
Sure. Is that the basis of your moral system, because they help you?
And help other people too.
Okay.
So it's their behavior. There is nothing that you don't then go the extra step and say, why are they doing that? Well, even though it may not be in their best interest to do it.
Let's be clear that we don't really understand how people behave or why they behave.
He's offering you an explanation.
What, by a god? Oh, come on. What about all...
Don't shout at me, it was his argument.
Sorry, I won't shout again. I can behave badly at times. I'm sorry.
Not at all.
No, to keep behaving.